I'm Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. All right, so I've learned my lesson. That we edited that last part of that. Remember yesterday, I was like, "Where's the rest of the damn video?" With the video of me and Barbie, producer Barbie, driving down PCH. So I didn't know if this had it or not. So I did the fade out like that. That Emmy winning producer lady. You all know who it is. Good friend of the show. Gave me some tips on improving my aesthetics stuff, which is really fun to play with. I really love being back in the show. After I introduce our esteemed, not only amazing and impressive, great journey, great mission, but a great history. Actually, a famous family history. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I introduce it. There's two things I also love. We don't quite have the accent. I thought it'd be stronger. I was praying because guys, I'm fascinated and love accents because I have such a boring voice. I love playing, especially Italiano. I have my Uncle Frank, who I first learned and then had worked with a number of factories over in Italy that we have done work with for years. So I was hoping to get a double take here, but the last name, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Not telling it yet, Kristine. I'm not going to tell. I'm not letting it on yet. I'm going to build a little bit more. It looks like we got about 5, 6, 3. I'm sorry. You're going to notice this, so I'm just going to admit it up front. I wear glasses. If anybody has ever seen the other show, I have a couple of different pair of glasses that I wear. But here's the thing: when I was moving, somewhere in this house. This is the studio. Over there's the house, but somewhere over there is my glasses, and I had to run out and get some readers, and they're half the amount that. So every once in a while, I'm going to look like this. And I forgot to also tell you, Kristine, we're getting up to 25, so I'm going to have to jump off quick. They're getting too excited about talking to you, young lady. I will turn myself off, go off stage like. No, I'm not going to do that to everybody. You know what I mean, though, because we popped on from the green room. So I will pop off and pop on. We'll talk more about that later. But in the meantime, I want you to meet my bestest BFF, Kristine Genovese. I didn't say that right. I know I overdid it. Please reintroduce your name. Let's go over, because this is all about inner building, inner truth. This is about. There's other things that we talked about just a minute ago that I'd like to get into another show with you, maybe. Mm-hmm. That being the, now with Kennedy and all the food things that are going on. I actually listened to a podcast that you were on. I think another gentleman, you guys were talking about the foods not having the enrichment in the soil of today. I think it goes far beyond that. I think the food cartel and the pharmaceutical cartel, they're just trading us back and forth. They make us sick through the foods that they feed us. Then we go and get well in the pills that they make us take, and then we go eat more food to get sick again. And that's a whole nother thing. We don't need to get into that. But I know that's another part of your story. I just want to sprinkle that in there. And then this part is going to be a lot of fun, because we talk a lot about holistic health. And I think years ago that concerned people. It's holistic. It's kind of, let's go down to Mexico and pour weird shit in our veins and our cancer will go away. That's kind of the reputation it came out of, unfairly, because it comes out of Asia. Actually, that approach is a very thousands of years older than our medical system now. So, you talk about holistic, you talk about the mind, you talk about the heart, you talk about the stomach, as well as medicine as well. So please, I've tried to make this as best of a show as I could to start off, but there's no way I'm going to match the expert. So Kristine, tell me about your family. Tell me about the story leading up to the journey you're on. Sure. And tell us all about this ability to revive. I know you were talking to I think it was a doctor. Was it a doctor, a lady doctor, who was telling you how good her husband had changed? How did you heal him? When you were working with her? Yeah. Really good stories. But what's the story before that? And then let's go.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, first of all, Rod, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with your audience
Oh, love
today.
it. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Kristine Genovese, so you could say a Genovese as you did. You did a great job. Yeah.
Did I do okay?
A
Oh,
little Italian notes. I love it.
I, I thought you were going to have one of your nephews walking by the front door going, get it right, brother.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. I do come by the name Spiritual Gangster, honestly.
Sure.
It is the Genovese family from New York City. Yes, my great uncle happened to be Vito, the Vito. So I'm trying to bring a little more goodness back to the name. Okay. So
Ooh, hey, I heard a little slang coming in. Hold on. I heard a little getting into the family slang, just a touch.
just a touch.
Go on.
Absolutely. But I'm known as the creator of the soul intelligence method. I wasn't always known as a spiritual gangster. As a matter of fact, I came out of the spiritual closet, as it were, around March 12th of 2020. I'm sure that was kind of, the height of COVID when everything just started. The world went on a big, giant pause, and as did my life. I was a corporate turnaround specialist for most of my career. So helping companies, streamline people, processes, technology.
Okay, gotcha.
And, so I was fixing broken companies, and now I kind of devote myself to fixing broken souls, I guess is the best way to put it.
Wow. I like the way you put that. That's very clever. I like that. It's it's important because like a broken company, you could see that effect. It starts wobbling and it's trying to make it itself. But when it's yourself and it's every day, day in and day out, you can sometimes not see that wobbling. Can't see the forest through the trees. And it's experts that kind of help you settle and then readjust and go on with what you were saying. I just wanted to admit that.
Yeah, no worries. So, having, I got plucked out of corporate America, I believe by the divine's hand, to remove me and extricate me from the situation I was in so that I would have time to actually step away from my zone of excellence and move into my zone of genius, as Brandon Burchard would say. So,
nice.
yeah, I mean, I was really good at what I did. I loved it. And I was always figuring out, what was the underlying theme? Why was the company not succeeding? Why were they not reaching their goals and objectives? And so I think I was shifting energy way back then, not really recognizing what I was doing. So I had learned a method about 20 years ago. Called spiritual response therapy, which was developed by a Baptist minister out west who's since passed. And so I got the hang of kind of using a book of charts and a pendulum. So I would be in my hotel room using this book of charts and a pendulum to try and figure out what are the underlying causes, what are the underlying energies, what's really holding this company back from succeeding. I just wouldn't walk into the boardroom with a book of charts and a pendulum because they would look at me like I had three heads, right? So
smart idea.
Yeah, I kind of had the concept down. So when I was pulled out of corporate America, I was given.
Kristine,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get a chance to tell you about. I will disappear every once in a while to look at things. I did break up your beautiful point, but I don't want them looking like this while I'm looking at notes while you're making a point. So I will disappear. I apologize.
All good.
Go do your thing. I'll be back.
Perfect. So, I was given an opportunity because I was total shock as to why I got out of corporate America. I received a phone call from the head of HR letting me know my services were no longer needed when I had just gotten a performance bonus. So you want to talk about shock of your life, right? So fortunately through that, I was given about a 9-month runway, nice exit package to give me time to really listen to some sage advice that a friend shared with me, which was, why don't you, instead of jumping back in to the workforce, why don't you actually consider doing something you love to do, you want to do, you're excited about doing? And so I took a lot of time with prayer and meditation to really understand what that was. And so I think that's a big tenet is to really, you got to get quiet in order to be able to hear the messages, to listen to the divine. And I think prayer and meditation work hand in hand. I think prayer is really sending out the request, and meditation is listening for the answers. So I do both. And I'm a big believer in both. So the method came to me through really a divine interaction and meditation. So I had the concept of a book of charts and a pendulum, and then I started developing my own charts. But then it was like, okay, so how do I introduce people into this method?
Go back just a tiny step. I noticed this when you first started talking, and I may have missed something, but I just want to confirm, when you say charts, are you talking as in astrological? Are you talking in holistic? Are you talking in something that I've totally messed up and totally missed as far as what you mean by charts? I want the whole picture is all I'm trying to get from you.
Yeah, it's actually my own book of charts, my own
Which
method.
means, can you dig into that a little bit, or is it too early yet to do that? Am I too anxious? Am I that little teenage boy that wants to know everything right this second?
Well,
do I need to wait my turn?
I think, no, it's okay. I mean, that's the method itself, is using a book of charts and a pendulum to figure out what's going on in somebody's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual body. Okay. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's my my way of connecting to the divine and getting the information that the person needs to heal. Because essentially what this method is built on is bioenergetics. And that's a science that's been around, at least documented, since the 1950s by Dr. Alexander Lowen. And basically what it means is, when you physically don't feel well, mentally and emotionally, you're typically not doing so hot either, right? It's kind of like common sense. So your physical well-being and your mental and emotional well-being are correlated, and you can't separate yourself, right, from those things. And if you take the tenet, everybody and everything is energy. We know this since we're like third grade science class. We're all protons, neutrons, electrons vibrating in this magnetic field, right? And I think people forget that because we're physical, we're corporal, right? But how am I seeing you right now? Okay. It's a transfer of energy via StreamYard.
Right.
It's the internet. We download stuff from thin air on 5G. How does that happen? It's an energy transfer, right? It's the same thing. So that's the cool thing for me. Oh, great question. How does soul intelligence differ from traditional energy healing?
All right, now hold on.
Yeah.
Easy there. Yeah, you're not going to get away that easy. You need a little bit more lead into what we're doing. So how did you get there though? What were the things that you come from I don't want to go back and relive your whole, well, I do want to actually, but we don't have time for that. We'll do a show on just the family.
Sure.
But a little bit more, because you went from being a corporate
turnaround specialist
entity, specialty, which I actually have used. I mean, it's for a long time that was a very useful tool, and like you said, COVID kind of wiped a lot of things out to ground zero, and then people rebuilt in different ways. So there's that. But before that, how did you get? Did you always lead into the corporate world, or what were some of the influences that got you there? Give me just 3 or 4 sprinkles, just a couple of little bit of taste, so we can kind of round out the questions on who makes you you.
Like
because
how
you're making other people. So what are the influence? You're making them, right? I mean, you're working with people to make. I'm a little off color sometimes. I have different descriptions, but at the end of the day, you are working with people to make their the best of themselves. Okay. And that's something we're very highly interested in, love, because it's so important, because there is a reason for us to make ourselves better. One, that's always been around.
Sure.
2, we need to become better people, because we need to become more of a larger group of the middle class, to become more powerful within the movement. And I get to all of this because of AIs coming so fast and so prominent, that we have to be able to be there. And what you're talking about is one of the most important things, because I can really know about politics and get everything all in line, but if I don't know myself, and I don't know my reaction with others, and my building of the positive energy with others, and how are we going to come together if we don't have that skill set yet? And we don't have a lot of time. I mean, AI is coming fast, and I don't want the politicians to design it all out. I want us as a middle class to have enough general knowledge and confidence in ourselves to be able to remember what this nation was built on, which is from, of, and by the people. And no decision should come from the United States of America without it being approved of and for the American people. But we have to earn that because they got it a lot smarter than we are right now. We got to boost ourselves up. So that's a whole story saying, that's why I'm asking this question is.
I don't remember what you asked me.
Where did you build from? Where did you build from to get on? I knew you were going to say that. I have a really bad habit.
Okay.
I have a really bad habit, but fortunately for both of us, I know it really well. And the audience really likes it. So we kind of goof around with it. I give you a tiny warning. I'm sorry, but where was the journey? What were the things that caused you to, at some point, not only the fact that you were rebuilding people on businesses, now people, but more than that, you have to, I know my story. I went through a freaking boatload. I mean, a year and a half ago, my whole life changed. So were there things within you that brought that additional curiosity to your life's journey that brought you here? Is there any of that in there that we've missed or brushed over? Or am I just wasting a whole lot of time and let's get back to your story? Either one I'm good with. Either one.
Okay. So I think you're asking kind of like, how do I even know I had an ability to do this? Yeah?
Correct.
Prior to actually developing it. Okay. Well, yeah. So my first sense, everybody's got these sixth sense, right? So my first sense is clairsentient. That means I feel. Right? You ever get the chills? You just know something's true. You know, that's okay. So I feel things.
100%.
People can identify with that. Like you walk into that stuffy cocktail party and you're just like, oh, I don't want to go in there. Right? You feel the energy.
You're feeling the vibe.
Yeah. Or you're really excited about doing something. You have to make a speech. You get the butterflies in the stomach. Right? So we feel. Okay. And for me, that's my primary sense. And growing up in corporate America, we were told to stuff all those feelings, right? There's no crying in baseball, as Tom Hanks said in A League of Their Own, right? We were to stuff all that stuff away. I was no different. As a matter of fact, because of the role that I had, I grew up at a time when you really hit your head on the glass ceiling, and I've done it umpteen times. And I tried.
You heard a lot about that. A lot about that was going on through the last couple of decades.
Yes, I tried to act like a man. I was crass. I kept up on sports statistics. I wanted to be one of the guys. I'd make fun of people who were emotional. And what did that land me? That landed me with a health issue, which kind of also brought some awakening. It was I stuffed everything down, and I went and I had a checkup. This is well before I developed the method. But I had a checkup, a normal OBGYN visit, and they said, you've got abnormal cells. We need to do an in-office procedure and biopsy. I was like, what? So we did that. And then they came back and they said, you know what? We're going to have you go into the hospital and we're going to do a clinical biopsy on your cervix. I'm like, what? So I was freaking out. I'm like, okay, anytime someone says the C word, you're all freaked out, right? Cancer.
Yeah,
nobody wants to hear that. So I sought every healer I could find, like anybody that I could find. And I asked them, what do I do?
Okay.
How do I fix this? What's going on? Okay. And so I went to one lady and she said, you need to get in touch with your divine feminine. And at the time I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? Like, do I have to wear my hair long? Do I got to wear dresses? Do I have to dance? What does that mean? And I realized I had been devaluing myself as a woman for so long, like pushing that down, like that was a sign of weakness. It had all gone to the seat of womanhood, which is your uterus. That's where we birth babies. That's where we birth businesses. It's also the seat of manhood for men. That's why so many retired men get prostate cancer. They've lost their sense of purpose. So I went on this, healing journey at that time. I know, right? Pretty profound.
Wow. Yeah. That is profound.
Yeah. So
Go
it's
on, go on, go on. But that is
it's an
profound.
underlying root cause when you think about
Yeah.
it. So I did all of the healing work. I researched all these goddesses, all these powerful women, like Sekhmet, this Egyptian goddess with a lioness head, like Isis and, Joan of Arc and all these incredible, strong female leaders. I went, wow, I was totally off base. And so I started to embrace that. And I started to look at the femininity. At the time when I got that diagnosis, by the way, I was so detached from my own body. I'm like, oh, I'm done having kids. Just take my parts out. Who cares? Like literally, that was my first reaction. And then
That's
I
not
went on
uncommon
this journey.
either.
Right.
Unfortunately, and still to a degree, that's still not uncommon. Just cut it out then. Or
Yeah.
That's a little rude,
Medicated
but
or
you know
cut
what
it
I mean.
out. But yeah, right. That's traditional. So I'm over here on the
Wow.
naturopathic energetic side too, right? It all works together. So I did
Yeah.
all the things. I went to an energetic acupuncturist. I did some traditional energy healing.
Done that.
I did prayer, meditation. I saw my cells as being healthy. And then I went to one woman. She said to me, you know what? By the time you go in, it's going to be gone. And I went, you're right. It's going to be gone. And so I just focused on healthy cells. So by the time we got it done, I'll never forget the OBGYN's face. She came out and she looked at me stunned and she was like, we must have cut it all out. It's gone. I'm like, yeah, we must have. So did we cut it all out? Was it the energy work? I don't care what it was. I think it all works together. So that was an experience. The other thing I recall is being a kid, and I grew up with an alcoholic father. And so he had, we moved around a lot as a kid because back then when you were an alcoholic, there weren't really like treatment programs. So they would just move you to a more remote location. They moved the problem around away from corporate. And I didn't know that until I was a grown-up. But at the time, I didn't like how I felt around my dad. Like I physically felt different. Like, and I realized as an adult, I was picking up on his emotions, his self-loathing, his self-hatred, his like lack of self-esteem, his intensity. But I didn't realize at the time I was empathic. So there were kind of like these seeds, of things.
Wait, hold on. What did you say? You didn't realize at the time you were empathic?
Yeah, meaning you could feel other people's emotions.
Okay, that's what you said in the beginning, and I wanted to make sure I didn't misunderstand it. So that is a term which I'm not familiar with. That's why I'm asking. Makes sense, like empathy, empathic, but you're able to feel emotions of other people.
Yeah, to this day. So I have to be very clear.
I feel you. So to speak.
And like, actually, is this mine or is this somebody else's? And kind of gently return that to them or back to the divine. Because once energy is created, it can't be destroyed. That's a scientific fact. It's got to go somewhere, right? And there's different ways to release energy. I know somebody is asking about, how does this differ from other energy healing methods and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's some incredible questions.
You're allowed to dig in the freaking beautiful playground now because I've been going through these. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I've been looking through these when I popped off. There are some really fun questions. Once you start with Jeff here, we started with you. I wouldn't let you do it. Thank you for entertaining us and giving us some. I like to call it color within the layers. And so thank you. That's awesome. So as Jeff asked here, what talk about this. Let's get into some of these questions. How does soul intelligence, and this I love the wording soul intelligence. I speak a lot about the soul because there's, why I do. I don't want to steal your party here. Differ from traditional energy healing. And that I don't know. I've been one to have you do this, and thank you for being patient.
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, first of all, when we talk about soul intelligence, where does that come from, right? So I started to say my first sense is clairsentient. I feel. The second sense is claircognizance. I have an instant knowing, right? An instant knowing. And so when I talk about soul intelligence, like everybody can relate to IQ, right? That's up here. It all starts with the idea, the instinct, up in the brain. And that is the electric spark in the electromagnetic field. EQ, right, is that emotional intelligence. And we learned about how you say what you say is equally important, right? And when you think about emotions, the Heart Math Institute did a study on the field around the heart. It is 6 feet wide, yet we only have a 2-foot wide field around our brain. And think about how much strategizing, thinking, calculating goes on up in there. So this is more powerful. It is the magnetic part of the electromagnetic field. So we magnetize things to us, right? Soul intelligence is tapping into the divine part of you, the eternal part of you, that divine knowing, that knowledge. So when I talk about how soul intelligence differs from traditional energy healing, it's very specific. I think a lot of people can relate to Reiki, right? And Reiki
Yes.
is this wonderful healing transfer of energy, right? That a lot of nurses use. And it feels good. As a matter of fact, I was working with someone a week ago, and
Before I'm trying to. Sometimes
what?
it's really hard because sometimes it's really hard to interrupt you because you have such good points, one right after the other. I'm trying to stop you in a moment because you talked about the heart being 6 foot versus the brain. I think you said 2, or was
2
it
foot.
3?
2 foot.
2 foot. Hearing a lot about this lately because there's actually 3 brains, right? There's the stomach.
Yep.
What's your gut feeling?
Yep.
How do you feel? What is your heart and your brain? We've always you're expanding into this right now. So I wanted to bring this in right now if I could, because
Sure.
I'm really excited about this. I'm just now hearing about, we started this show in September last year on Constitution Day. And so we're about 280 maybe show episodes now, and I love it because I learned so many new things. And one of the things that I'm learning that is new is this whole the holistic, and I'm going back to that word because you said it, the brain is powerful. We always talk about the brain. There's all this stuff about the brain, our brain. Our heart's actually manipulating our brain most of the time. It's the one causing the reactions of the chemicals for this and that, as well as our stomach. So our brain is more of a tool facilitating these brains of our heart and these brains of our stomach. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that's correct. I mean, I think one other element that we probably need to talk about is the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind, right? So the conscious mind is only 5% of the activity, okay? 95% of the activity is the subconscious mind, and our physical body is actually a barometer to what's going on in the subconscious mind. So this is getting to answer Jeff's question. So all of the stuff that's stuck in our subconscious mind is unresolved trauma, right? It's self-limiting beliefs. It's negative energies, emotions, and thoughts. It's all of the old patterns that we haven't shifted that keep showing up everywhere. And so the question becomes, well, if it's all stuck in my subconscious mind, how do I get it from the subconscious to the conscious to be released? That's soul intelligence. And that's my method. And that's what I do. I'm able to figure out what that is. And the way I do that is very similar to what we're doing right now. I do it via Zoom. And I'm able to connect with the person. And I'm able to figure out specifically what needs to shift, what caused the issue in the first place. Because by the time it's manifested in the physical body, trapped energy, is, well, for example, emotion is energy in motion. When energy is no longer in motion, it gets stuck, it pools in the body, and it causes dis-ease, dysfunction, or a dissonance in your frequency. And that's when you notice it, because now you've got a pain in your neck on the right side, so your husband's making you nuts.
I do.
Right? You're inflexible. Yeah. Okay. Like there's something, it could be something subtle like that, but it can also be something that has been in there for a very long time that is now surfacing. Yeah. Or you've worked on it up here. Like, oh yeah, I worked on that trauma and divorce and therapy and blah, blah, blah. But it came up again because there was something that you hadn't fully released. So, it does release trauma without revisiting it, because I'm able to figure out what that issue was, when it happened, what was going on, using the charts that give me information. And so it comes from the subconscious to the conscious to be released. Now, does that mean people don't cry during a session? No, I can't tell you that. Sometimes people will cry, but to me, that's holy water.
I'm
And
about
that's
ready
the
to.
soul releasing. So when that happens, I love it because I know the person's really shifting.
Hey, as we're going through, and there's a really nice flow into this subject that's continuing. I want to thank. Sorry, my eyes. Sorry, Damien, and I want to get them remind and say again to Jeff, thank you very much. Ollie, thank you. But awesome questions, guys. But as you were going through that discussion, I also want to kind of throw in there, and it's so interesting because, we fight. There's so many different subjects we cover on the show because of one particular reason, because it's all about the great middle class. That's the easy way to say it. But then it also comes back to, there are so many controls in our life that just feels weird when we talk to people. I'm going to talk to you right now. Sorry, this is the camera, and I noticed this yesterday. I want to make sure I get the cues right, because I want to make sure and look at your face when I'm talking about this, because it seems like there's a lot of people, a lot of things that we run across that I'm noticing. I do these every day, sometimes a couple of times, and I hear these things over and over and over again, and I start to wonder what the bigger picture. And again, I'm not driving for a different discussion here, although there is one in every part of this discussion. But as we're talking about, I hear disease, and now I can't remember the exact ones. Your energy, the different words and descriptions and actions that you were describing are those things that have been around for, I don't know, maybe 1,000 years or so. So in other words, the things we're talking about are not, wow, let's come up with this newfangled idea to try and make things better. You go back to thousands of years and hear the remnants of these same things. And it's interesting to me that we as a people are being led differently than what we've always known to be true in the past. Does that make sense in what I'm saying right now?
Of course,
Okay.
right? I mean, we can, we can pick any point in history, but Hippocrates started with all disease begins and ends in the gut. And if you think about what's in your gut, right?
And is our government purposely not trying to allow us to get that gut to really do its job, as well as we need to take more action and listen to more people like you who are just now through profiles like this getting that not just now, you know what I mean? I mean, old media would always talk, go to your doctor. Well, you can't get rid of doctors. The medicine, but we are finally just now maybe going to start healing ourselves because we're listening to people like you. That's more my point. Why for decades, centuries, is our government really trying? And I'm not pushing it towards a government thing, but the hue has got to be there, because there's a reason we aren't getting this more readily, and it just angers me. And go on with your point, because you're right. The gut is what starts everything. Your gut feeling, right? Well, and I have one right now.
Well, I'll address the gut piece
I
first.
thought that was good. I thought that was good.
I think it was good. I mean, certainly with people like Robert, RFK in office now, he's getting rid of dyes that we know are terrible,
are illegal.
In our food.
In the rest of the world, they're illegal.
Yeah. And so we're, because he's a proponent of natural healing and functional medicine, I think we're starting to see some positive changes, and I'm very grateful about that.
Absolutely.
When we talk about the gut, the gut, you talked about it as being, one of our brains, which it absolutely is. I talked about, gut feelings, gut instincts. The reason why is our stomach has two functions. It holds food, right? And processes food. It also holds emotions and processes emotions, or doesn't. And that's where the trouble begins.
Hold on. I missed something there right before that. What is the it you're talking about? it holds it. Is this
Your stomach,
I've missed
your
it.
stomach, the
Okay,
gut.
you
the
actually
area.
the gut
Mhm.
actually holds that to create that combination,
Yeah.
that working effort between
Yeah.
here, down here. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. I just want to make sure I had it. Sorry.
Yeah. And so when something goes awry in there, that's usually the first place most functional medicine doctors start. They start treating in the gut because that's where the center of everything is. And if you know anything about the human energetic system, so the chakra system, we have 7 major energy centers in our body. The third one is our stomach. It's our solar plexus chakra. And that is where all of those organs are, right? That hold some of this trauma. And if you think about what's there, that's the chakra that talks about self-esteem, how we show up in the world, how we feel about ourselves. And it's the first place we feel punched in the gut, right? It's unbelievable when you start looking at it. When we start talking about how long has this stuff been around? Well, Einstein said the future of medicine is energy and frequency. And we're now using frequency to destroy cancer cells. You don't hear it as mainstream news right now, right? Because God forbid we would disrupt, all the poison we're putting in the body to kill the cancer cells, like chemo and whatnot. To your point, I think there are people out there, pioneers, Casey Means wrote an incredible book about the whole healthcare system, why she as a doctor had to get out of it, because she wasn't able to cure people. It was about how many people you could see in a certain period of time and how many prescriptions you could write, because the pharmacies, big pharma is what runs most of our country and our medicine. And if you follow the money, to your point, you will figure out what's going on.
Let me add to that too. So remember, we were just talking about, we have the food cartel, and then we have the pharmaceutical cartel, and they are cartels. I got to shut this window.
You talk about the food cartel, right? I mean, if
you know who makes up the owners of all the big food companies? It's the old cigarette companies.
The old cigarette companies. They got everybody addicted to food. Yes. And sugar. Yes. I know. It's crazy. Well, I mean, people are wondering, like, how long does it take to feel results from the method? I can tell you, people feel something immediately, like right away. Like I was working with, for example, I work in the field of functional medicine. Part of my role in this world is working for an incredible nutraceutical company called Nutritional Frontiers. And we help heal people naturally by providing these great products to doctors so they can help heal people. And so I was working with one of our doctors, and she was like, she couldn't walk. Literally, a doctor couldn't walk for months, and she couldn't figure out what was wrong, why she couldn't walk. I did one session with her, and we found out. I said to her, I go, what are all these men not supporting you about? What is this all about? And she goes, oh my God, I've had a lawsuit going against this construction company that didn't do work properly in my house. They still haven't resolved the issue. My attorney is not answering my calls, right? It was just like all of this stuff. And so we shifted the energy of what was stuck. And then I encouraged her to take action and get on the phone and speak to her attorney the next day. She texted me immediately. She went the next morning. She's like, oh my God, I can walk. I was literally crawling to the bathroom, and I can now put weight on my foot. I can't believe it. So we hold on to things in the subconscious that we don't even realize what it is. So people can feel results right away. I worked with another woman recently, and she said to me, she's a health coach, and she's like, look, I haven't had a period in 3 months. I don't want to be close to my husband right now. And my business is drying up. And I said, you've got a problem with your sacral chakra. I talked about that earlier, where we hold our sexual organs is the second chakra. And when I looked, it was like 85, 90% blocked. So I cleared all of the energy, all of the programs, all the patterns out. She literally texted me the next day. She's like, oh my God, I got my period last night. I felt comfortable enough to let my husband hold me. And I had 3 new clients in my email. Not kidding. Like these are real stories.
3 months.
I have a ton of those stories in my book, Shameless Plug.
Oh, that's a good looking book.
Healing
Oh,
through
shit.
soul intelligence. It's really me. It's really me.
That's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Wow. Where's that? Where you said that was on the Time. Wasn't that the Times magazine
So
book
a
that
couple things. It's an LA
okay, yeah.
Tribune
Hey,
bestseller. Best Holistic Life magazine just named it 2025 book of the year. You can get it on Amazon. I actually went out to LA and recorded it on Audible.
where do
So
you
I'm
where do
in
you live?
Tampa. I'm in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. You were in Jersey at some point, were you?
I'm actually originally from New York City, hence the name.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I know, no. I know. I'm going back a ways because remember I said I have a fascination with accents.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were really chilling in this one conversation, probably about 20 minutes ago, I heard your you
It comes out.
comforted.
It comes
It
out.
comes out. It started
Mhm.
coming out and was much less. I have a weird fascination. I'm sorry. It's just what you got to deal with.
It's all
One of the
good.
many things you got to deal with when you're chatting here. So
It's all good.
this has been awesome. I want to get to another point, but I want to hit a couple of these and then
Yeah.
come back to a point you had just made a minute ago because it's there's so many weird things about doing a show where you have different topics and then you start and you have a lot of the same topics and slightly different approaches, but then as you're listening to them you're hearing more and more information that's just backing itself up.
Mhm.
And it has no other right to do that unless it's an actual thing going on. Does that make sense? Is that too vague what I just
I
said,
know
or
what
did
you're
I?
asking me. But I don't know.
I'm not asking you a question right now. The question
Okay, I'm trying
I'm
to
saying
find a
is I'm going to
bouncing
come.
ball. Okay, good.
Okay. See, I told you it is what it is, man. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You're just so good at pointing it out. I don't usually get exposed this much, so now I'm gonna have to change my method. Damn you! You're gonna make me work
All good.
hard on this. Okay, fine, be that way. What I'm saying though is when I'm starting to learn so many different things, I see similarities that come back and start becoming reinforcements of
Mhm.
things that we've been taught not to think.
Sure.
And now we should be thinking
Absolutely.
about that. And I want to go back to that. What I
Mhm.
just said is a point I want to come back to later after we get a couple more of these out because it'll fill it in.
I
Believe
got
me,
you.
just trust me.
All right, but I think I got where
Shush,
you're
and let's
going
go.
now.
All right. So, how long does it take to feel results from this method? You already said right away.
Yes, you can
And
feel something after one session, but if someone's dealing with something they've been dealing with for a very long time, it may take a few more sessions for them to really have the shift they need. Like I was dealing with a gentleman last week, actually. They found me on another show, and it was like he had jumped on a grenade back in the Vietnam War, and he was like on the beginning of this session. I could see him. He's like doubled over. His breathing's labored. He was in terrible pain. His wife says it just keeps getting worse. They tried traditional medicine. They've tried naturopathic medicine. Nothing was working. And so she heard me on a show and she's like, I just want to see if this will work. During the session, I could literally see him, his breathing return normal, him sitting up comfortable. And I'm bringing that up to him. I go, how's your pain? He's like, it's really lessening. And she was a Reiki practitioner. And I said, well, let me guess. I said,
wow.
I bet you when she does the Reiki on you, it feels good, but it doesn't last because it's not really getting to the root cause, right? It's not getting what's stuck, that energy that's stuck. And in essence, he's been dealing with this stuff for 50 years. Can you imagine?
No.
And he had immediate relief. But I said to him, because of all of the stuff that's been in there and how long it's been, I could only do so much in about an hour. That's about how long I do a session for, because you need time to let that energy settle, right? And so I think that's an example of, I'm going to work with him probably over a period of about 4 sessions, but I need you to let the energy settle, because you go to a chiropractor for a biomechanical adjustment. You come to me for a bioenergetic adjustment. And so you want to give it time to kind of adjust and work through those things, and then start to notice like, oh, that's interesting. That doesn't trigger me anymore. or, ooh, I don't have that tweak that I just had, depending on what I'm working on with someone.
I love that these questions are coming in and that we're bringing, I say we. Yeah, it's all me, guys. It's not her.
It's great.
Don't give her any credit. Come on.
Yeah.
It's
all good. Yeah.
But this whole energy coming through and everything is really cool because you're getting solid directions and being able to move forward about things that have, and that's kind of what I was talking about before, about things that have been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and yet the people are now thirsting so much for it. And this is kind of a crazy push. I wanted to get a couple more in there before I said anything, but if you look back at Jesus. How are you religious, spiritual?
Yes, quite.
Okay. Well, I mean, from New York.
Very spiritual, but yes, I was raised Catholic.
So I'm going to walk.
I still work with the saints. I still work with a bunch of angels. I work with, we'll call him JC. So I'm familiar with JC, the man.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. That's the man I'm referring to. What I told you before that I have become kind of really, really interested in this show way more than when I started. I was so excited about starting this. I love doing this thing, but all of a sudden, just in the last months, things are coming together and starting to say, there's a repeat of that comment. There's repeatability, consistency. And so that's all leading to the point. Trust me, my family and my audience knows this. I don't give 30-second comments. I apologize. You got to just hang in there because you do get there, but just white knuckle it for another minute or so. I was thinking when you were talking about, and it started to connect in these healings, she could walk again. She these different things because of the blockages that were pulled away from these other energies that were stuck there, keeping that away from being able to happen, to move. Sure. Right? Okay. Go back into the Bible and look at the healing. And you talk about the ultimate holistic healer, mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
The original, I think. I mean, I'm over pushing this. I have no right to say any of this, but I just, as a little kid in the candy store, and that's what I am every single day. So I get a little hyper because I get a little sugar rush. Okay. But for every day, it's so interesting. And now here comes this one that says, well, that might answer some questions, because I have a lot of interest in religion, in the God having different stories in every single, the God having stories in every single religion, and yet we fight against each other. There's a whole lot of, that's one of the chapters. It's called chapter 13, and it's called Blinded by the Light. And it's about the 6 major religions. Really, there's 4, a couple more. One of them, Buddha, isn't really a religion, but still got the same stories. So you just put some dots to, you know what? I love you so very much right now. I just so very much love you. That is so awesome, because literally you can make a really thought in how that all really works, going back to the beginning of things we can ever think about in recorded history. That's been going on, including Jesus, right? Am I being weird in that comment? Because it just came on. It's unfiltered. So I'm sorry if but no, I mean, does that make any sense or no? Because remember, people's got up and walked. People became unblind. There's certain things. Wasn't every day. It was just a few. But was that some of that blockage being pulled out?
It very well could have been, right? He was an ascended master, so he had the ability to shift things and to move things. And I do believe, someone had asked, I think, as well, like, is every physical ailment tied to something energetic,
spiritual, right? And spiritual, spiritual practice to work? Does it need both medicine? And I didn't ask because that, Clive, but don't take my credit. That was a good question about Jesus. It's a different question.
In terms of how does it require meditation or spiritual practice? Look, in order for me to do this work, I have to be tapped into the divine. There's no other way. Okay. So the information, I really believe, you've heard of a channel. I believe the information comes through me. But I've also taught other people how to do this method. I actually have my own course online. And if anybody's interested in learning more about soul intelligence, the course, or if you want to learn how to work with me, you can go to soulintelligencemethod.com, and everything that I do is available to you there. But I do want to personally invite your audience to an experience. Since this is live, the first Wednesday of every month. So the next one is next week, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. I do a group healing session, and I'm going to do it on the third chakra, the self-esteem, how we show up in the world, because there's some astrologically interesting stuff going on right now. You may have heard of 8-8 and Lion's Gate, and this incredible energy. What it really means is, this goes back to Egyptian times, since we're talking about ancient history.
Before
I don't want to lose my thought though.
All right, I want you to give your data here in a second. Go ahead.
Okay.
Ancient history.
Ancient, just real quick, so that the sun, our regular sun, aligns with the star Sirius, our spiritual sun. So if you've been thinking about coming forth or standing in your power or moving forward in the world, like how do you get in alignment with your mission, vision, values, and purpose? Now is the time to start making those shifts. And so the energy is right for that. So I'm going to clear any blocks in a group setting for anybody that's interested. And if you're interested in how you can join, you coming? Okay. You can go to soulintelligencemethod.com and you can sign up to attend that session. You'll get the Zoom information. You can also sign up, for my email list as well.
Well, I'm glad you got that out, and I'm definitely coming. Now I forgot what the hell I was going.
But that's a great way for someone to experience the method. And somebody asked, like, what's
hell yeah,
first way to start releasing trapped energy? Well, first you have to become aware of it, right? Yeah, you have to be aware of it. But you can move energy, right? That's part of what we're supposed to do in the world. You can go out and connect with nature.
What does that look like? What do you mean when you say that? What does that look like? You can move energy? Because yeah, absolutely. And at any level that should make sense, because we are
dancing, sports, movement. I mean, literally move it through your body, move it out of your body. You might not know what it is, but you can physically move it, for me, a very simple way is to be out in nature. That's a great way to get connected, back into the rhythm of the universe, right? Whether you like walking barefoot in grass or you want to go to the beach.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Something
I love that.
to that effect, right? But you have to get quiet in order to hear the guidance, your own guidance, the divine guidance, whomever, you call, I say divine intelligence or divine or source, whatever you feel connected to. Because I very much have a similar philosophy as you do, that all of the major religions are connected, right? It's all trying to describe the same thing. It's just a different way of going about it. And I think they were all talking about our own ascension into those higher realms, right? As humans. And I'm feeling like we're on this mission together to really bring more light into this world.
We are. And that's I think we're at a precipice. I like to say that we're at a really important time in our lives, because people have always, the earth, the sky is falling, every couple of years there's there's some sort of sign that the world is ending, and we've gone through all of that. But I really do believe there's really an important time that's coming, because it's funny how much I don't think 5 years ago that anybody, well, maybe 10 years ago, I'm guessing, anybody at all would have ever expected that religion would be looked at differently. And even within religion, because they're looking at each other, even Catholic priests and popes and the Pope, sorry about that, I'm so sorry, has said, there are some things, they're acknowledging there are other religions, and they're acknowledging things they never have before. But what's interesting is that we're finally coming together and making some of this kind of happen and be. The fact that we need to keep doing this is now obvious because of people like you making those connected dots. There are similarities in the religion. I mean, we've been around thousands of years. In the last 20 or 30, the world's changing dramatically now. And I think everything with AI is because of that. And so now when we
you mentioned AI a couple of times. Do you know one of the number one professions that AI can't replace? Energy healers.
Really? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I actually saw that online recently. I'm like, all right, go us.
Well, and that's the thing. AI is not human. It is not better than the brain. No. It is not better. And nor does it have 3 brains. I mean, it's so far behind us. But what it does do is it moves things faster because we make it move things faster. And that's not going to slow down. That's not going to slow down.
The other interesting thing about AI right now is it's all built on past experience. So it's not really futuristic. Correct. Right?
Correct.
It's not about where we're going. It's about where we've been. And that's where it's using the knowledge base from. So, we are the ones that have the ability to decide what our future is. And it all starts on the inside. Someone had asked about, how's this tie into quantum physics? Everything is created internally before it manifests externally, right? And internally means 100%. The spark, right? That intellect, that intuition, the IQ, everything starts. That's the male part of the electromagnetic field. And what magnetizes things to you and brings it into you is emotion. It is that feeling. And that's why when you're trying to manifest something, bring something into your life, you have to be in the energy of that which you want to create. So I tell people all the time, write it as if it's already happened. It's a year from now. Who are you with? What are you doing? How are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Because your subconscious mind doesn't know time. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to start organizing things and arranging things and collapsing the particle field and the waves to bring that stuff into you. But you have to be in the energy, that which you want to create. The Secret was a great start years ago. It was all about affirmations, right?
Oh my God, that was awesome.
But what was missing was what Neville Goddard brought to the table, which are emotions, right? Feeling is really the secret. That's the magnetizing part of the electromagnetic field. And the cool thing is I'm actually in a movie called The Pillars of Power that's coming out in the beginning of the year in January 2026. And it is a 20-year anniversary of The Secret. So a lot of the original cast members that were in there, like Dr. Joe Vitale and John Asseroff, Marie Diamond, all these incredible pioneers in the field of transformation are in it, as well as some of today's transformational specialists like myself. So pretty excited about that one.
Oh man, I that is very exciting. Hey, by the way, one thing I was we're battling for time, and you won, as you should.
Oh, good.
Because you won it. So going back to that, I wanted to say, please, before I forget,
yes,
especially here because there's so many questions. We've still got 3 or 4 more. You still got a few more minutes, right? You're not
absolutely.
You're okay
I'm fine.
All right. All right. So will you please put in your in the private chat all your contact information, because like what I'm going to use it as well, but I guarantee you other people. I see Ronaldo just came on, one of a very big favorite of the show, where I know her very well, and she's very knowledgeable about this stuff as well. Okay, you got it on there.
Yeah.
Why don't we
go?
Okay. Why don't we have you? How can I learn to become a soul intelligence practitioner? You said how you teach people to. I think very early on we kind of dipped onto that for a second. David is really curious to know how he can get involved and because I mean, let's face it. You said something really. It was funny, and we just kind of chuckled it. But AI is not going to take over the soul.
No.
And so AI is going to have a lot of adjustment in our world and things we're going to do, but there's a spiritual side that's going to be roaming over AI. It just seems it just seems the way the world's. I'm sorry, I'm just getting magical. It seems that the.
I know it's like good.
I
like
know
it.
it's hard. I was getting all energy. I was getting all frequency there for a second. But it just feels like AI and spirituality and what we're talking about here is going to really be a function. Somebody asked that earlier. A functional partnership. There will be no elimination of the other. There'll be elimination of a lot of jobs, but this is a combination of things growing. David, how can we learn to become a soul intelligence practitioner? Let me click some of that information over while you do that, so I can get over to Ronaldo here in a second as well. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can visit my website at soulintelligencemethod.com to learn more about the program. It is actually evergreen at the moment, meaning you could start at any time. Happy to have a conversation with anybody who's interested. You want to learn a little bit more about it. And I was considering actually in October starting to do a guided course again. I do actually have once a week, I'm in a coaching session so that people are able to ask me questions directly. I also have a lot of support. There's a Slack group and also a WhatsApp for people who are in the method, who are using the method, sharing their stories, their testimonials, how they've impacted people and helped people. And I do have other practitioners that are listed on my website as well, because as you can imagine, I get lots of requests for sessions and I can't possibly get to them all. So I love having more people interested in the method. So again, if anybody's interested in learning more, just visit my website. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
We've been over an hour now, and we still got over 300 people on. I think you know, that's not easy to do. I mean, we're earning people's time right now. You know how it is. I mean, I always say this. That's why I always try and get people in, 7 minutes early. It sounds anal, but first of all, I learned right away because one time I was like 10 minutes late early on, and this dude came on. First thing he said was, hey, I'm so glad you're here. In the comments, hey, I'm so glad you're here. I've gone back and refilled my coffee cup 3 times now.
Oh my
let's
goodness.
Get started. Can we please? Which actually, wow. Ronaldo, since she's coming up, she actually came on and said, hey, dude, it's live. Some things happen, And so later on, I told her, actually, I was really glad that happened because they care. I mean, we have regularly 300, 400, 500 people on, and they're what do they call it? Dedicated. They and we have a community. We've created a family, not just a movement. So it's really exciting to get so much of this. That's why I get so excited about things like what you did. You're connecting dots. The guests, each one either connect or reinforce the dot. And because there's so much we've been taught for so long, so wrong, and maybe so purposely. Yes. And actually, at some point, that's not going to become important as long as we get rid of the first two. Get rid of the so wrong, and we get rid of the so long. It's time for us to now know and get real about this stuff. And we still got some ways to go, because now we got to also fight ourselves. For so long, we've trusted the so wrong. So now, so there's a lot of work to be done. And I really get excited every time somebody like yourself, I'm fortunate enough to have worked with, and then, like you said, finally put something together. And then we had to change it again to do it. So I'm really fortunate and really happy that this kind of thing is happening, because I see it enough. It's hard to see your kids grow up when you live with them every day. And so it's really cool when you can be me and see the different kids every day, and see how some things look good because they're who they are, and they're also who they are, and they believe that, and then this person's who they are, and you can see some differences that could be made in a life. I get to see that every day, and that's a really cool place to be able to say, hey, look, here's your contact information. I'm going to be involved in this because it's not just no longer holistic, energy sources and this and that. It's a lot more acceptable. But now I've seen it so much. Evidence is evidence.
Well, what's
I mean,
exciting to me really is I get to work in the field of functional medicine, which means I'm working with healthcare providers who are helping people, right, heal naturally in the physical, and then I help them heal in the mental and emotional. So I work with those
so
doctors and their patients, and I want to see soul intelligence method in every wellness center across the country.
So how do you keep, and that's kind of, that's the thing we need to keep going. As far as being skeptical, it's just being more involved. Allie's a regular attender here. I'm glad she made this comment. The next lady up, I'm really excited to. I'm going to give her a little flirt here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
But Allie's a good little ask great questions. Can you help someone who's having skeptical, people skeptical about her, about energy healing? How do you, what's some tools they can use as I move on to my little lovely lady here? Allie, can you help Allie out here as far as what might be some things to use that people are skeptical, although we talked a lot about it.
We did.
Watch every show here. My God. There's example after example, but fill in the blanks for her, would you?
Sure. I mean, well, when you think about, everybody and everything is energy, it goes back to science. It's not made up. Like, I don't know how people can be like, this thing streams onto my television. How does that happen? I'm watching you on a computer. How does that happen? It's an energy transfer. There is no other explanation. It's the same thing as you hear music. It's vibration. You don't see it, but it's there, right? Could I do the method on someone who is skeptical? Meaning, for example, I did a session for a doctor whose husband was kind of overstepping in her practice. He was the business end of it. And, he was suggesting that they needed to open another location. She wasn't feeling it. And it was really causing friction in their marriage. So I did a session for her. The very next day, she sent me a text and she says, "What did you do? My husband treated me so differently. He was so nice to me. It was like the best conversation we've had in ages." She goes, "I don't know what you did or how you did it, but it affected him." And I said, "We shifted your energy. So naturally he's responding differently to you, right? You're not triggered by the same thing." So I can even do a session on someone, like, I don't know if her husband would be open to it or not, right? But I can shift it for you, which in turn shifts it for other people. And if you think about the butterfly effect, right? Yeah. You think about the butterfly effect, right? That means if a butterfly like flies in a weird pattern or something on one side of the world, it could cause a tsunami on the other side, right?
Yep.
So the cool thing is when you choose to heal yourself, you are helping raise the consciousness of the planet just by taking care of you, not just affecting the people in your family, in your life, in your work, but truly helping to move us up and create more light on the planet.
Well, I think that's actually become something you haven't thought about directly a lot. At least I haven't. But when you just said that, think about the energy of the planet over the last 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I mean, periodically through time, but really the energy of the planet and how that's shifting now, because we are humans, and I'm also a firm believer of basically you've got 6 feet around, because you can feel somebody coming up behind you. And there's not big mysteries. There shouldn't be big things. We should start just being honest, being honest with ourselves, and our officials being more honest with us about us, because, it's still.
Why do you think we had to stand 6 feet away from each other?
Yeah, because I mean, we wouldn't have listened. We wouldn't have listened.
The magnitude of the heart, right?
Yep.
Think about that. They didn't want us to feel comfort. They wanted us isolated. Because when you think about brainwashing, right? Here's how you brainwash someone.
Yep.
You isolate them, you control the messaging, you repeat the messaging, and you reward with fear or love. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I teach people how to brainwash themselves for good. But that's what happened way back then, right? Yeah, Totally.
Yeah.
6
There's
feet
so
away.
many things. So many things. They went, that was the final push. I mean, you think about all the stuff that led up to that, isolating us by race, fluoride in the food. That was the show we did yesterday. And we're really starting to spend a lot of time in trying to connect all these dots.
Don't even get me started on shots.
Shots, vaccines, everything else. There's a continual motion to have a society succept or secede or follow, easily, more readily able to control, and all these things come through it. And it's nice that finally, I believe, we're starting to get a little bit more energy, and you can feel the change of the energy of the world. It's becoming a happier place. I think people are more interested about living. I'd be willing to bet that after a number of years, the suicide rate is going to start to go down a bit. I mean, it's crazy now. I mean, people are at 60% depression. More and more and more and more of this brings that down, because 60% of people live in depression every day.
It's insane.
But do you hear that from the government?
Nope.
No, but you will, and things are starting to hear. That's why we have health doctors instead of iceberg doctors right now, and there's, I think, some changes going to come about. Ronald asked a great question here that I don't want to get too far track of. And you said you're okay on time, right? Because
okay, sure.
This is one of those things that, it deserves a little bit deeper look into every single point of it, because it does. You're connecting dots that other people have brought us to, and now you're connecting additional layers. And while we do discount the brain on this topic today, we elevate the heart. I'll get to a point here. I'm not being that disrespectful. And the gut of the stomach, the brain does, as you learn new things, it does have additional synapses that cross over and grow, and you become smarter in new things that you learning new languages, learning new things like this. You could not believe how freaking, I'm going to say this word, plug your ears. Could you plug your ears for a second? Do you mind plugging your ears real quick?
Okay, sure.
Fucking stupid I used to be. So go ahead. So I just wanted to bring out how grateful I am for what you've given us here today. And as Ronald asked, are you able to read a room? Because we've actually been talking a lot about this with the energy. You can start to read a room or a person within a few moments after meeting them, to help them clean up trauma. And before you go up with this, because I already know the answer, I'm pretty confident I do, and I'll leave your contact information. But as you're going into this, it's so important, and it's becoming so much more mainstream. I'm actually just a person. I'm just a regular dude, man. I had a business. People around me don't look at me and go, "Whoa, that's a weirdo." It's funny how this kind of question, this kind of comment has evolved into not the commonplace, right? A commonplace. I mean, it's not unusual to say the word holistic anymore. I'm 63 years old in June, and in that span of time, it's gone from literally, I mean, the hippies out in the desert did some holistic shit. I have no idea what it is, but that's what from that point when I was born to now, obviously things move quicker and quicker. But it's interesting how the world's evolving, the way it's evolving. But let's get back to this. The moments. Are you at that? Everybody's at this point. Do you recognize that? Right? I mean, that's true.
So, being able to read a room or a person, yes, I sense, I feel, right? So I can feel somebody right away. Can I clear their trauma that way? No, I use the method to actually do that. So I really need to be tapped in to be able to figure out exactly what's being held. But could I feel somebody's emotions? Could I sense what's going on in their body? Yes. That's happened many times. But typically, for me to figure out exactly what it is and help shift it for them, I need to use the book of charts and the pendulum to actually discern what the information is.
I think Ronaldo's getting a little greedy right now. I just want to shout her out for that. I think she's being a bit greedy. I think she wants you to be able to walk by people and heal them as
Well, maybe,
you're gone.
maybe. But like,
You're gone.
someone had
Walk
asked you,
again.
like, if you came up
Continue,
to me,
Ronaldo. Don't get mad at me. Sorry. Go ahead.
but
Go
if
ahead.
she
Go
came
ahead.
up to me and she said, "Look, I'm suffering from IBS," I could say, "Okay, well, you're probably unbalanced. You might be a little bit too serious or controlling. Maybe you're focused on like negative or judgment. Maybe you're holding on to outdated beliefs and ideas. There's some confusion, lack of direction, not knowing which way to turn, or difficult trusting others." So someone had also asked, "Is everything in the physical have an underlying energetic or emotional component?" My answer to that is yes. So if you tell me what's going on in your body, I can certainly give you, these are the things I would be looking for in a session, because I do know what's underneath a lot of conditions. Sometimes I have to like go back and look it up. Like I don't have everything, off the top of my head. But I got,
Come on, man.
how many diseases there are in the world? My goodness.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
And challenges.
All right.
But yes.
This has been absolutely a fantastic show, as I'm sure that statement doesn't surprise you. I hope it doesn't, because it was a really, really good show. I really appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's just fun to chat with you, and your listeners are so active, and I love their questions. And, I hope I get a chance to interact with them, and I hope I have the opportunity to come back at some point and talk to you, on another exciting topic.
Yeah, we got a couple more here. And by the way, you'll see that what you just said, you'll see that on a commercial coming soon.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. I was going to actually say, would you do a take two of that? But I'm listening to it going, oh, okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
So you asked about, okay. I'm going to ask you to do a final comment here and do a take two during that final comment with a wave. I'll throw you in the green room. Sure. But as you were talking about, it's fascinating to me. A great conversation, feeling more aware already. Our whole job, your and mine, and all of ours and everybody else, whatever that all means, our job is to really continue to kind of keep the energy. That's why I'd like you to hang out in the green room again. Keep away from the green, chocolate covered M&Ms. I'm scared of the people who control those. They get vicious. And we have somebody else not wanting us to go. Yes, Kristine is a gift to the world.
Wow, what a way to end! That's amazing. Thank you.
That is awesome. And I'll add to that. And here's why. The first time she was ever on the show, and I know this for a fact, was yesterday. She with my granddaughter. And, she made some cool comments and all that. But I just became Facebook friends with this lady. Face and name exactly the same. So I'm guessing that's her. But it's really good to see new people coming on. And what a great thing to say, Ariel. And yes, it is a perfect way to end. Why don't you wrap up, what we've experienced here today, and do a take two on another version of a short I'll be sitting out as a commercial, and how perfect you and I are together as a perfect unity. And then I'll throw you in the green room and finish it off. And Absolutely. Stay in there. I want to hook up with you afterwards. Okay.
Sure. That'd be great.
I want to talk to you afterwards.
I get it. I get what you mean.
Okay.
No, I just, anybody that's interested in energy healing, if you've thought about the correlation between your mental and emotional wellness and your physical well-being, they're all interrelated. I would love to talk to you at soulintelligencemethod.com. That's the best way to find me, reach me. And just remember one thing, self-care isn't selfish. It is sacred. So take care of yourself. You're helping the world when you do that.
Give us a big wave, man. Your brand new fans are just ecstatic about it.
Very excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my God, they're still got something out. Energy healing makes so much sense after hearing this. Thank you. You know what? I'm not gonna bring you back on unless you want me to react to him. But I see you back there, tipping up your teacup there, and Danny, thank you so much. I don't know which one to leave for the final thing here. Danny, great question or great comment. I appreciate both you and Adrielle. This has been a very I don't want to say unique because there's a lot of really special people, but what I'm excited about is we're getting it. I'm considering myself to be not be an expert, but to be a very experienced, curious person on this subject, especially over the last several years, but really all of my life. But so I'm going to claim a little whatever that gives me. And I'm going to say, listen, this has been an amazing journey that we're on. There's people that are out here to help us and to gain information and to do new and special things. This is Insights and Straight Talk. You know, we're here every single day of the week. We're actually here. We've been here on a couple Saturdays now because we've had to. And we've been here a couple of 3 shows a day, 2 shows a day show. And that's why every once in a while, this host of yours, Rod Duff, just has to be out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.